Basketball is a team sport where one team, usually consisting of 5 players in each team, compete against each other in a rectangular court. The primary objective of the game is to get the ball through a hoop mounted high on the opponent's side of the court while preventing the enemy from scoring through yours. Whichever team scores the most points wins. Movement while in control of the ball is usually governed by what is called the dribbling technique, where the basketball is bounced by the player while they are walking or running in the court. Being a team sport, players can also pass the ball to their teammates to get the best opportunity of scoring the basketball through the hoop. Basketball is a physically demanding sport. While it does not feature the excessive contact found in sports such as ice hockey and football, excessive contact in this sport is a violation or what is called a foul. It is still very demanding for the player's body. In addition to the physical contact between two players that is not wearing any protective gear whatsoever, the game requires a lot of running, jumping, and quick changes of direction. That is why a lot of the injuries in this sport occurs in the lower body section. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Kevin. I am a self-proclaimed doctor.
What?
And today we are going to be looking at the most common type of lower body injury in this sport, the ankle sprain. We are going to be looking at the nature of the injury, its treatment, and the rehabilitation process, and the steps that you need to do to be able to recover from this type of injury. Ankle injuries are very common in the sport of basketball because of the amount of running, jumping, landing, and changes in direction that occurs in a normal game. It is very easy for a basketball player to turn, roll, or twist their ankles awkwardly, which can result in the stretching or even in worst cases, the tearing of the ligaments and the bones. Since the ankle is the most commonly sprained joint in the body, let us learn how to apply basic first aid to it. Always remember RICE. RICE stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevate. If you roll your ankle in the middle of a game, immediately ask help from your teammates. Do not continue the game. It is highly advisable that you rest the affected area. If you continue to play, you will risk yourself for permanent damage. Ice the affected area. Do this as soon as possible to help limit the risk of swelling after the injury. It is not advisable to directly apply the ice on your skin. Instead, try to wrap the injured area with towel first, then apply the ice. Also note that you should ice the area for only 20 minutes at a time. Compress the affected area. Wrap the area with an elastic bandage. You want the tightness of the compression to be very snug. If it's too tight, it'll restrict blood flow. If your skin turns blue or feels numb, the bandage is too tight. Loosen it a little bit and make it feel comfortable for yourself. Elevate the joint. If possible, try to raise the affected area above your heart. This process can be done 2 to 4 times a day, up to 2 days after the injury. Note that the raise method only applies to less severe ankle sprains. If you have experienced this type of symptoms after an ankle sprain, immediately seek medical assistance. Redness or bruising in the affected area. Continuous pain after a few days of applying the RICE method. And lastly, if this injury has occurred to you many times frequently in the past. Hello everyone, today we are going to be talking about ankle sprains. Now the most common type of ankle sprain is what we call the inversion sprain. So we normally know it here in the Philippines as the pilot. So as the camera will pan to the bottom, an inversion sprain happens when the knee or the ankle inverts like this, and it's going to result, normally in most cases, the stretching of the ligament, but in more severe cases it's going to cause it to tear. So in this second part of the video, I'm going to show you rehabilitation exercises so that you can regain control of your ankle and you'll have less likely of having another injury in the future. The first exercise today, we're just going to measure the mobility of our ankles. Specifically, we're going to do what is called a dorsal flexion, where the knee comes forward like this and look how the ankle bends like with it. This motion is commonly lost in the event of an ankle injury, so we want to test how far we can bend our ankles without our knee lifting. So a common way to measure this is leaning up against the wall. So we want to put our feet at a certain distance near the wall and we want to flex it. We want to dorsal flex our way near to the wall and test how much we can bend it without our heel lifting. So the way we can measure how much severe or how much we have lost our mobility in an injury, we can also compare it. So let's say this is the non-injured part. So this is our non-injured ankle. We can compare it with our injured ankle and see how much it bends. So we can get a sense of how much mobility we have lost in the ankle injury. So I'm going to repeat it again. Near the wall, and you're going to bend it. Remember, don't make the heel lift. And with the non-injured side. So in the second exercise, we're going to be using resistance bands. Since we don't have resistance bands here, I'm just going to use a gym equipment used in increasing abdominal strength. So resistance bands are ideal in strengthening the muscles around the ankle. To work our calf muscles, we want to wrap the band around the upper foot and point the foot away against resistance from the body and make it return again. To strengthen the shin muscles, we want to attach the ends of the bands away from the body. So we may want to have another person helping us in this exercise. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to stretch our foot towards our body against resistance and putting it back. It's just the opposite of the exercise we did earlier. To further enhance your calf strength, you can do this type of exercise. If you do not have a calf riser at home, a step of stairs or any elevation can do. At first, you can do this on the ground while lifting both heels. And when you're healed enough, you can perform this exercise on a riser on a flight of stairs. And you can also do it with one foot. You can also do this exercise one-footed, as seen here. Inversion and eversion movements should be avoided while recovering, as it is most commonly involved in an ankle injury. After the pain has gone away, you can start strengthening these muscles. You can use resistance bands to strengthen these muscles, as seen here. We don't have resistance bands, and the equipment we used earlier, it cannot simulate that type of exercise. So I'm just going to show footage from this video right here, which you can see how it's done. Lastly, functional exercises such as toe walking can be used to strengthen the ankles, as it mimics the activity we perform in our daily lives. The objective of basketball is to score more points than your opponent. However, the process in which an individual or a team does this is more complicated than you think. Some of the most important skills of basketball are shooting, dribbling, rebounding, defending, running, and defense. That is why today I am going to be showing you the basic fundamental skills that you need to excel in the game of basketball. The first and the most important skill that you need to learn is knowing how to shoot. So shooting is the act of putting the basketball through the hoop, whether that be a layup, a mid-range shot, or a three-pointer. There are 2 steps to be able to develop into a great shooter. The first is technique. You have to know how to shoot with the proper form. So I'm going to be showing you footage of an NBA player named Klay Thompson. He is the archetype of how you should shoot the basketball. He is one of the greatest shooters of all time, and you can see why on how he shoots the ball. Basic technique includes correct hand placement, a balanced base, eyes on your target, elbow under the basketball, and your follow-through. Mastering these techniques will help you become a great shooter, not just in practice, but also in game. The next step is repetition. You have to shoot, 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 shoot if you want to be a great basketball player and shooter in general. You have to dedicate a lot of your time on working on your shot using the correct form, which is outlined in step number 1. You can't just shoot with 2 hands, just throw the ball in maniacal fashion. You have to train your body to have the right form so that it can be embedded on your muscle memory so that you'll know how to properly shoot the basketball. So it is said that to master something, you must work 10,000 hours for it. If you're very serious in improving your shot, you definitely need multiple shooting sessions in the court every week. Drills I would recommend you doing to be able to improve your shooting is practicing your form. To be able to practice your form, it is important that you start near the rim. What children do today is they extend way over to the 3-point line. Since it is very far away, it actually ruins their form. So what you want to do is go up close so you can actually focus on how you shoot the ball with your hand and your offhand. And as you improve shooting in that distance, you go farther and farther and farther away while maintaining that same form so that your body will be used to these conditions. The second type of drill is the Steve Nash drill. It is where you shoot the ball, and whenever or wherever the ball lands is where you will shoot again. So for example, you shoot a 3-point shot and the ball lands in the mid-range, you're going to shoot from the mid-range. It lands near the basket, you're going to go for a layup, and repeat, repeat, repeat. And it is also important that you practice one shot at a time. So maybe at one day you're going to be practicing layups, and the other day you're going to be practicing mid-range shots. This is done so that there is consistency and you don't actually begin to ruin your form, and you actually start to master one thing. So the next skill is going to be dribbling. So this is one of the most important basketball fundamentals for all young players to learn. Here are some dribble tips to be able to improve your dribble. Players must strive to dribble equally well with both hands. You can do this actually at home. Dribble, 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 dribble. Just dribble and dribble and dribble until you get used with both of your hands. This is going to be important because as you will see later on in defending, one of the most fundamental defending techniques is blocking the dominant side of the dribbler. So if you know how to dribble with both sides of your hand, it's going to be easier for you. It's also important to keep your head up. Don't look at your dribble, because if you look at your dribble, you won't be able to see open opportunities for your teammates. This will allow you to scan the court for open opportunities so that you can be able to properly pass. Start with easy dribbling moves such as the crossover or the in and out dribble. Don't go to advanced dribbling techniques that you see on YouTube right away. Just focus on the fundamentals and work your way up. And lastly, you must be able to think with your head while dribbling. Don't just dribble your head, do crossovers, do in and out dribbles just for no reason. You have to have a purpose. So when you dribble the ball, you must be able to know what you're going to do next, your next step. So if you're thinking pass the ball, I'm going to do a crossover, and I'm going to shoot. So you must be able to think of your next move so that you will be able to become a better basketball player and a dribbler. The next skill is rebounding. Rebounding is the act of securing the ball after a missed shot. This normally occurs on the defender's side of the court, but it can also happen when your teammate misses an open shot. You can actually grab the rebound for an extra possession or an extra opportunity to score the ball again. So the basic tips I can tell you, always remember that the ball will most likely land on the opposite side of where the player shot. So when the player shoots from the 3-point line at the right side, you must position yourself opposite the basketball court, because most of the time, if it's not an air ball, it's going to go to the opposite side of the court where you can actually get it. And another tip is look at how the player shot the ball, because most of the time when players are difficultly or hardly contested for their shot, it's going to end up on an air ball. So the first tip won't really apply if the shot is going to be an air ball. So you must be able to look at your opponent and how he shoots or how he lays the ball in, so that you will be able to know how to properly position yourself when securely rebounding the ball. And lastly, don't wait the ball to come for you. You must be able to properly position yourself. It's not going to come to you. You must be able to track the ball in mid-air so that you'll know when it's going to go. I've heard a famous quote in the greatest defenders of all time, Dennis Rodman, that rebounding and defending is mostly effort. It's whoever wants the ball most. So always remember, in rebounding, effort. And whoever wants the ball most is going to get the rebound. The next skill we will be talking about is passing. So there are different types of passes: the chest pass, the bounce pass, the overhead pass, the one-handed pass, and the baseball pass. So it is important that you know how to be able to perform this type of passes, because in a certain opportunity, a certain pass or a certain type of pass is going to be more easier or more convenient than another. So it is important for you to be able to intuitively know what pass is best for the certain situation. However, the most important thing that you must consider in passing is the decision making process. Because if you do not think with your head, if you fumble the ball, because if you make the wrong decision, it's most likely gonna result in a turnover and a score for the opponent's hoop. That is why in passing it is important that you actually know or intuitively know to make the right decision, and at the same time also know the passing techniques. One of the best ways to improve your passing is to play games with the rule that players aren't allowed to dribble. This teaches the players how to get open and how to pass away from the defense. The pass fake is one of the best ways to trick a defender. Practice them with your team and teach players how to stay balanced. So the last technique that you need to learn is defense. So defense involves on-ball defense and off-ball defense. Basically what on-ball defense is basically guarding the player who has the ball. On-ball defense drills include lateral quickness drills. So it is done to be able to increase how you move laterally in the court. This is going to be important because basketball involves a lot of shifting and vertical and horizontal movements. It's really important that you practice that to be able to improve your lateral quickness. Another skill or another thing that you need to have is endurance. You need to be able to you need to not tire very easily, because as I said earlier, defense requires a lot of effort. When I say effort, I mean a lot of energy. So you need to be able to improve your stamina, your cardiovascular endurance, so that you'll be able to perform exceptionally on both sides of the court, not just on defense. When on ball defending, you should always be in a low, balanced stance while mirroring your opponent's movements. It is also important that you look on their chest so that you won't be faked by their movements. You can be faked by their eyes, how they dribble, but you can't be faked by their chest. The second type of defense is off-ball defense. It is the act of defending the opponent that doesn't have the ball. The goal of off-ball defense is preventing the players that doesn't have the ball for being open for a shot. So basic off-ball defense techniques is mostly just chasing the players in the court. So the fundamental things that you need on ball defense, you can actually apply it on off-ball defense. It's also important that you know how to navigate around screens. You need to be able to displace screens. You need to be able to slip around screens, and you need to be able to go over or under the screen depending on the shooting ability of your opponent. Again, as I have said earlier in rebounding, defense is mostly effort, 90% of it. So it's whoever wants the ball most who is going to get it. That will determine your ability, your defending ability, to prevent the enemy from scoring. So those were just the basic fundamental skills that you need to learn in basketball. Take note that to be able to improve in all of this needs or requires constant attention. Which is why it is important to start simple. It is important to start from the fundamentals and work your way up to advanced drills, advanced techniques, which will help you become the basketball player of your dreams. Hello everyone, today I'm going to be teaching you how to tape your ankle. This is especially important if you're recovering Hello everyone, in this video we are going to be showing you how to tape your ankle. Now this is going to be very important if you're coming back from an ankle injury or you just want to protect your ankle. So let's get right into it. For this application you will need 3 strips of tape. Start at the inside of the ankle, underneath the foot, and with full tension pull up with one foot. Pull through right along outside or the lateral part of the ankle. And the last bit of tape, no tension on there. You must make sure that when you're applying the tape, there is no stretching. The next piece, make sure to put it on the side of your foot and wrap it around through your heels, underneath your foot, and put it near where you began. Always remember, lay down the last bit of tape with no stretch. For the last strip of tape, you just want to repeat what you've done in the second step. Apply it in the base of your foot with no stretch. Stretch the tape a little bit as you apply it on the side of your foot. Wrap it around the back of your heel and then back under the foot, just in front of the heel, and you want to lay it down where you started. And always remember, lay it down with no stretch. There you go. That's how you tape your ankle. This provides input to the ankle complex to provide mechanical and neurological stability when you're running, playing hoop, or just walking around. This does it without decreasing circulation and restricting range of motion. So that is how you tape. So thank you guys for watching this video, this 4-part video. And if you like it, make sure to comment down below. Make sure to let me know. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to always stay blessed. I love you guys. Bye-bye.